This is Sky Blues Extra.
Well, good evening, everybody. You're more than welcome to this evening's Sky Blues Extra Live after what was, in fairness, a very bitterly disappointing 2-0 defeat at Kenilworth Road tonight. Alongside me, Wardy. Good to see you, Tom.
Evening, Dean.
Must be disappointed with that. I mean,
yeah,
pretty poor, wasn't it, overall?
Yeah, it's just very, very disappointing, isn't it? I think, like, having had 10 days off, the fully fit squad to pick from, I think we all expected to pick up something tonight. And it's an opportunity to, really. I think you look at, like, the next games, I mean, like, April's not easy, is it, really?
No.
I was looking at these two as games we needed to pick up points from. So, yeah, it's really, really disappointing. I don't know. It feels like week in, week out, we struggle in the midweek games, don't we?
Yeah, and it seems to be when it's us on the live as well. So, you know, we still haven't broke out a duck. So
we might have to be disbanded, mate.
Bit of a shambles. We're like Glenn just put a comment in saying we're the bomb squad. So I think he's got that absolutely bang on. What was the most disappointing thing for you tonight?
I think Ben Wilson, to be honest with you. And defensively, I think, I don't know, he just didn't look up for it, did he, really?
Seems to be the same mistakes week in, week out. The naivety's crept back in again. You know, after being so positive against Derby, it's now sort of landslide feeling again.
Yeah, just defensively, we looked really panicky. It's like we were playing crossbar challenge or something, weren't we, in our own 6-yard box?
Yeah.
We were determined to clear the ball by hitting the bar. Which was concerning, yeah. So I don't know, but they look like a decent side, didn't they? They look well up for it. So they got some good players. So yeah, but they didn't have to do too much to beat us fairly comfortably. So yeah, disappointing evening.
I think at times in that first half, I think we did show some really good play, but like you said, I think Luton sort of outsmarted us tonight. They sort of stifled the wing back, any momentum we had on the wings as well. That was stifled out by, you know, in what I thought was a superbly set up Luton side.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they've got top quality individuals, but they play as a team. But saying that, I still think we've missed an opportunity here. We had a big chance to move away from this relegation scrap against a mid-table team. A team we've got recent good history against as well. And we failed to take the opportunity. And what's the most disappointing thing for me is that we've had 10 days to prepare for this game, and it looks like we ran out of legs again.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, you look at the start of the evening, I think if we'd have won tonight, we'd have been 3 points off them. But now with them winning there, I think they're 15 points clear now. So they're safe now.
Yeah.
After tonight. So, yeah, it's disappointing, really. I just think it puts a lot of pressure on Saturday now, I think. You know, I think it's one of those weird ones, isn't it? Where if we win on Saturday, it's not the end of the world. Like wins are better than just drawing a lot of games, obviously. But
yeah, I mean, it feels now where the game on Saturday against Wycombe was big. It now kind of feels monumental, really.
It's must win.
It's a must win because you know Rotherham have still got those 3 games in hand. I know they lost 4-1 this evening, but those 3 games in hand can come in crucial at some point.
Yeah.
We're only 6 points ahead of them. Obviously, we've got to play them as well, and you know, God forbid we fall to defeat in that game against Rotherham, and you know, effectively it's a 6-pointer.
Yeah, exactly. And April's tough. You know, like we can't get complacent. I mean, QPR away, our away form's not great. Bristol City at home is a tough game. Bournemouth away is a tough game. Barnsley at home is a really tough game.
Yeah, but they're on the run of their lives at the moment.
Yeah, so. It's not.
Listen, there's no easy game in this division.
No.
You know, it's a very tough league. It's one of the toughest leagues in the world, if not the toughest.
Yeah.
So you know we've got to be on our toes, and we can't show up like we did tonight. Sky Blue Army, it's your show as well as ours. Really interested to hear your thoughts tonight on the action. If there's anything you want us to discuss, go ahead, let us know. Obviously, still buzzing from the Rico news. That hasn't really settled down.
Although it's good news, but there's that thing hanging over of like being there in the championship, isn't there? It's like it's brilliant news, but it's almost put like an additional bit of kind of nervousness around everyone.
The pressure's on. You've got to stay in there.
You know, it's like the Rico in the championship is monumentally so much more exciting than the Rico in League One, isn't it? That's
Absolutely.
the whole point, really, of going back and everything. So, yeah, it's just put that added bit of stress.
Absolutely, yeah. And we do not need that stress on us at the moment. Yeah, there's enough stress going on without that. But good news with the boxes being sold before even on general sale. I'm not sure even if you can do that. A little bit disappointing because I had visions of purchasing a box with some other people. So that's straight out the window.
You've got $7,000 lying around, have you, Dean?
Yeah, and I was going to buy you one as well, mate.
Oh, cheers, mate. Yeah. Buy one, get one free, was it?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's go through some of these comments. Leon Varney, shambles. We need a striker and a goalkeeper. I'm not sure about the striker situation. I mean,
we've got plenty of strikers. I think
we have 3 on the bench.
Yeah, we've got plenty of strikers. I think, but I kind of agree with what Liam's saying. In this, I think we need to change something up front. I think it was fair. It was fair to give Biamu the start tonight, wasn't it? After Derby, but I think we need to change it up on Saturday. To be honest, I don't know what you think, Dean.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously a massive positive this evening was Matty Godden returning back in amongst the action. He showed a few nice touches as well, a couple of nice runs. So great to see him back on the pitch. I mean, I really worried his season was over, but it's great to see him back ahead of schedule.
Yeah, just got to make sure we don't rush him back again, haven't we? I think it's smart to use him off the bench for now.
Yeah.
I'll possibly get Walker back in on Saturday, though. Possibly go back to the 2. It's just, yeah.
Options, though. We've got options now.
Yeah, we've got options, which is
one
nice.
thing we've been asking for plenty of time during this season. We haven't had a fully fit squad. Tonight was the first time we probably had our first
season
fully fit squad of the season. Even the likes of Thompson and Williams were left out of the squad tonight, and they're back to fitness as well. So
the only player that's injured still is Jody Jones. He's back on the grass anyway.
He's back on the grass. Ring that klaxon. Here we go. Nige saying worst first half I've seen all season, but probably made the most clear-cut chances in a half all season too. And that says a lot, doesn't it? We didn't play particularly well, but you think of that first Biamu chance where he hit the post. I don't know about you. I thought that was in.
I was halfway around the living room.
Yeah, I was knee sliding. I was doing Klinsmans and stuff. I look up and it's a throw-in.
I know. I don't know if were you on iFollow or Red Button. I couldn't see anything on Red Button. I mean, like their penalty. I thought that was in as well, and the one that hit the bar. Everything I thought was a goal.
Not great work by the halfway line cameraman tonight. That's for sure.
But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? How you can have 2 really good chances like that, and you just think how different the game could have been if we'd taken them. You think like Derby, we scored early on, didn't we? And we went on to win it. Like we've said it on the pod, we're generally quite good when we take the lead and we can hold on to something, and especially get to half time. But yeah, to miss that chance and then concede so soon, and then you just had that horrible feeling again, didn't you? So
absolutely,
yeah. But I don't know how much closer it could have got to going in, really.
No, definitely not. Glenn is waiting in the wings to come on. We'll come to you soon, Glenn. Just got to get through basically 1,000 comments here. Michael Large, how did we get on? Ended up 2-0 Largy, and you didn't miss much in that second half, if I'm honest. Reese is saying poor defending, better second half, but usual problems, silly errors, didn't take early chances, and that potentially that's cost us nigh on 12 to 15 points this season. That naivety at the back and silly mistakes and not taking chances when they come to you, and that's the sign of a good team. Basically, you look at the likes of we mentioned them earlier, Barnsley this season. Their chance conversion over the last 10 games is ridiculous. It's something like between 15 and 30%, which for a championship club, that conversion rate is off the charts. And you can see that what that's done. That's propelled them into a position that they never thought they would be in this season. But fair play to them. And we've got to be on our toes in a couple of weeks when we
it's gonna be a tough one that
when we play them. Russ is saying weak all over tonight, bar Osty when short spell in second half, R11. Atrocious as lots of the season. Another team's keeper who forced to do nothing. Yeah, take those points on board, Russ. Where are we next? Paul Jones, still 6 points clear. Another game gone. We never play well midweek. Wickham will be key. Yeah, we mentioned the Wickham game. Still 6 points clear. Obviously, Derby have clawed it back to a 2-2 draw tonight. So they've gone ahead a little bit by an extra point. But still clear of Sheffield Wednesday. Still clear of Rotherham, albeit with those games in hand. I think it's safe to say, to be honest, Tom, I don't know how you feel, but I think Wednesday are gone. I can't see them getting 4 more positive results than what we will, with that 10-point difference. So
I agree.
I think it's all down to this one position now, and it looks like it's going to be Rotherham, Birmingham, us, and potentially Derby. All in the mix.
You could possibly look up to Forest Huddersfield as well. I mean, they're only 3 points ahead of us, so it wouldn't take too much for them to get dragged back in. But realistically, it's between the three of us. I agree. I think Wednesday are probably a bit too far away now. I thought Darren Moore might have made an impact, but it doesn't seem. I think they're just too much of a mess, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
To save them, I don't know whether he's thinking about going in and getting them back up in League One, but yeah.
Peter Ward, good job. Luton can't finish their dinner. Could have been 4 or 5. Better second half, but too late. The damage was done. Awful first half performance. Where was Hamer tonight? Yeah, I don't think Gus has played particularly well since January. There's talk of a potential bid coming in. Might have turned his head a little bit. I'm not too sure on those rumours. It is only a rumour. So maybe that's the reason why. But potentially this guy is coming to the UK after brand new division, brand new country, and he might just be feeling a little bit. It's simple as that.
Like we said, he's played a lot of football, hasn't he? Played a lot of games. We've relied on him quite a lot. And maybe he's just tired, but I did think tonight after a nice rest that he might be a bit brighter. But I don't know, he just wasn't on it, was he?
No, Dave doesn't think we've got the squad for a relegation fight. We'll have to see about that as we go through the remainder of the season. Swally wingbacks were poor tonight. Sam got done so many times. Should we change formation for Wickham? What's your thoughts on that, Tom?
Yeah, not the wing backs, I don't think, to be honest with you. I know Glenn will probably come on in a minute and say we need to play 4 at the back. But not the wing backs for me. For me it's about we've got 4 fit strikers now. Should we be changing things up top and possibly play with 2? I think there's some nice combinations that you could look at there, especially with Godden in the mix.
Yeah,
we've said, me and you've said all season that Godden and Walker would be an interesting combination. I don't even know if they've played yet together, have they? So that's one. That one would be interesting. Biamu and Godden would be interesting. So yeah, I wouldn't change the wing backs particularly, but I'd possibly look at playing the 2 up front. What do you reckon, Dean?
Yeah, to be honest, I think with Wickham are very much a long ball team. I think the two up top will be much better. There won't be much ball playing in midfield. It's going to bypass the midfield quite a bit in this game against Wickham. So there's no point having that extra man. Whereas in games like this evening and the majority of games in this division, I always think an extra man in the midfield, because we've been overrun so many times, especially in that early part of the season. That's the right thing to do. But against Wickham, it's definitely not. And Glenn,
when we've got a fully fit Godden, I think he could play the lone striker role better, because I think he did that a lot of last season, didn't he? He's probably a little bit more suited to it. So
and Glenn saying plenty of justification for 6 or 7 changes on Saturday, but Robbins is too cautious to do it. He might get a nosebleed if he even attempts to put 7 different names on the team sheet. But we'll see. Saturday's only 4 days away. Short turnaround. Team should be raring to go. And someone else who's raring to go is Glenn. Glenn, I've kept you in the wings long enough on SkyBluesExtra Live. Thanks for joining us, mate. What's your thoughts on this evening? You must be pretty disappointed with it in general.
It's just the same old story of a midweek game that we've been playing recently. We don't test the goalkeeper. Our keeper hardly has a save to make, and we miss clear chances, and we give them goals. This first goal, I don't know what Sam McCallum's doing. He's marking the invisible man and nowhere and let the guy have a free shot. Wilson probably should do better, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on it. And then the second goal, I don't think he handballs it, Fazdean. And I don't see how the ref can give it, because I don't, on what I've seen the video, I don't think he's got a clear view. I think he's guessed that he's made a move towards the ball and gone on the player's reaction. We were garbage, but ultimately,
but those little things, they're like turning points, aren't they? And I don't. What you say, it's not a handball. Definitely not. I think what the problem is the way Fad sort of attacks the ball. He sort of flaps his arm around.
He made
and
himself look guilty, didn't he?
Yeah, that
Almost,
gives the impression that he's handballed it.
Yeah, he's leaned in, which I don't know why he did that, because it wasn't hit with any force.
No.
Yeah, it's just annoying because like I said, there's too many games that we've lost, especially midweek, against teams who I don't think are miles better than us. And I think Luton are decent, but I don't think they're on the level like Norwich were when they beat us and other teams like that. I think we just look flat. I just don't know what they've done for the last 10 days.
It seems like all the good things we did against Derby we didn't do tonight. There was no press at any point during that game that I thought. They just looked lethargic. The passing was sloppy. The positioning was sloppy at times as well. I think the only good thing I thought was some of the interplay between Kelly, James, and Hamer was nice at times. But that for me is grasping at straws for positives from this evening.
Yeah, I think it's another opportunity that we've let slide again. And you can't keep giving opportunities up, because although Blues are abysmal at the moment, you don't know what Lee Bowie's going to do there. He might be a masterstroke getting in there, or he might be a failure. You just don't know. And much as Rotherham got spanked tonight, at least, like I say, they had a go. They were 3-0 down and had a go. Could have got it to 3-2. And then, they've lost 4-1. Derby, 2-0 down, have had a go and got the result out of it. We didn't have a go and seemed we're going to rest legs for Saturday, and that's just a dangerous game. I don't think Luton actually bothered turning up second half, probably to the last 20 minutes, and created a few chances. I don't think they were really any ambition to go and add to the lead, and I think if we'd shown a bit more positive intent, if you get one goal, even with 10 men, you never know what's possible. And I think we just looked a bit flat and no direction again. And the subs were a bit weird. I don't know why he's giving Godden minutes. So we shall see.
You wouldn't have put Godden in there this evening as a sub.
I don't see the benefit on a bad pitch. I think it was a risk. And if you're going to give him, I probably would have put him on earlier. I just think it was a bit of it was almost a pointless sub. It was not going to do anything. In the same way, like putting Sheaf on, I didn't see what the point of that was for Hamer. I thought if you're going to, maybe you'd have put someone a bit more attack minded on it. It was a weird game, to be honest. It was a very weird performance that we seemed to throwing it away from home, like in the vein of Reading, and I'm trying to think of some others, Preston away, and games like that where we've lost, but you wonder how we've lost.
Yeah,
the other team haven't really caused us any deluge of problems. We've given two chances that they were never going to miss from. But yeah, it just makes Saturday massive, and Saturday isn't going to be a gimme with Wycombe at all.
No, I was about to mention obviously the Wycombe game on Saturday. How would you approach that game? Sort of mindset wise and team wise.
I think he's got a tough decision. That there isn't, as Wardy said, there is an argument to go to a back four, but then I think there's also an argument that you need two up front, and to get Hamer, O'Hare, Ellie, and James in the same team with Walker and Godden, you're gonna have to either play. You're gonna have to drop one of the centre halves, or you're gonna have to leave probably Hamer out of the three. At the midfielders, because I can see him leaving Kelly or James out against Wycombe.
Do you think the McFadzean sending off and obviously suspension now, will that make up his mind to go to a back four? Does that make up his mind for him?
It might do. I mean, it's odd that he left Rose out on the bench today. That was a bit odd that he had Pask ahead of Rose. So I don't know whether Rose is still struggling. But yeah, I think I'd want to play two up top against Wickham because I don't think they're the most mobile back two, and I think you can cause them a bit of trouble with some pace. Which obviously Walker and Godden gives you good movement, and I think you could probably gamble on getting 60, 70 minutes out of Godden. I think he's probably going to be more effective than Max is, where Max could get bullied.
And a great record against Wickham.
Go a bit more. Yeah, Godden, as well. It play into the mindset, but it's. I think he's just got a problem. Hamer's not as effective as he has been. James. Yeah, him and Kelly too similar. I don't know, and they know you've got to play O'Hare because he's going to get around. But yeah, I think there's still a few question marks. I think McCallum, Hyam, they need to up the performance a bit. I don't think it's been up to standard. So,
well, Glenn, we'll look forward to Saturday and obviously your input after the game again. But brilliant points as ever on SkyBluesExtra Live. So really appreciate you coming on this evening. Thanks, mate.
See you later.
Cheers, Glenn. Take care, mate. Brilliant points. He makes that point about Hamer. He really, really has been off the pace, hasn't he? Since January for me.
Yeah.
What would you put that down to? Tired legs, or change of scenery was difficult, homesick, that kind of stuff.
It's hard to know, isn't it, as a fan looking in, really, when you're not in the club. I'm sure Robbins probably might have some better idea of what's going on. Like you said, has he not settled very well over here or whatever? You do hear that happening sometimes, don't you? I think he probably is a little bit tired, but then, it's the same for every player, isn't it? I mean, O'Hare's probably quite tired. And I thought he actually looked quite lively today, and especially in the first half. He looked quite up for it. The rest did him some good. So, hard to pinpoint what's happened with him, really. But as Glenn said, I wouldn't, if we were going to leave out a midfielder, I wouldn't be too bothered if we left Hamer out for Saturday, to be honest. I think, like Glenn said, I think having Kelly and James in there is essential. You can't really drop O'Hare either. So, I think I wouldn't be too worried if we dropped Hamer out. But
I would do exactly that. Drop him and play. I'd play Max and Godden, to be honest. From the offset, and that's where I think we're. It's a kind of a positive move, if anything. Have two up top, and I think that's where we'll cause them a bit of danger.
I think start positively like that, and then even if Godden needs to come off after 60 minutes, it's not the end of the world. We can always bring Walker on, but the key is to start the game well and get into a lead. I think we need to do that early on. We certainly don't want to be making defensive errors in the first 20 minutes again, because if we go 1-0 down against Wickham, then it's really going to get horrible.
And be difficult to get a foothold back in the game for sure. Glenn mentioned also about the substitutions, and obviously not for the first time this season we've questioned Mark Robbins over his substitutions. I kind of felt like we got a little bit of foothold in that second half early. That first 6 to 10 minutes were a little bit brighter. But bringing on DeCosta and Sheaf, when they're chasing a game, that's kind of defensive move, isn't it? You got nothing to lose at that point, and then obviously maybe conceding again, but surely you can't be thinking like tired legs when you've just had 9 to 10 days off.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I think when you're 2-0 down at half time and you're down to 10 men, I suppose you really are. The main objective is to not lose 4 or 5-0 at that point. I know, you've got to go for it a bit, but I think I saw someone on Twitter saying that, or I think it was Jim Brown actually was saying that it's only twice in our history or something we've come back from 2 down with 10 men or less, which one of them was Portsmouth, by the way. So it doesn't happen very often. So, he's probably thinking about the goal difference, isn't he? And thinking tighten things up, and 2-0 at the end of the season won't look too bad. If we lost 5-0 tonight, then, we'd probably have worse goal difference than Birmingham. So there's probably a little bit of that, but I suppose it is a little bit frustrating when you're watching and you want to see a good game and a good second half, and just go for it a little bit.
Absolutely, and Reece is making that point about the momentum there. We kind of knocked the ball around well after half time, but it's just, I think it's just part and parcel sometimes. When you've got 10 men as well, you seem to get that little G up a little bit.
You got to work a bit harder, haven't you? Individually.
Yeah, and like you said earlier on, I don't think Luton kind of came out of second gear in that second half at all. So
they let us have the ball, didn't they? Because they knew that they had, they were one man up, so they could afford to let us have the ball, play it around a bit, and they've almost got that sort of get out that there's an extra man on the pitch if they need to tighten things back up again.
Absolutely. Maddie's saying I thought we should have used all subs early on second half. The game was gone. And a few people are agreeing there on Periscope as well. But I suppose you kind of, like you say, you're chasing the game, and if you get one, then you've got the sort of spare hand with, potentially bringing another striker on later on in the game to sort of chase it and try and get you back in there. So I'm not too sure.
You've almost got to keep it tight and try and get a nick one, and then kind of go. Then you might as well throw everything at it late on, sort of thing. A bit like what we did at Portsmouth last season. It was like that, wasn't it? It was like I think we got a penalty out of nowhere, and then suddenly we're like, oh, we might as well give this a go, and then we get a corner. It
spurs you on, doesn't it? Yeah,
everyone piles in for it, but it's quite a hard balancing act between trying to keep the scoreline down and obviously trying to get something out of the game.
Absolutely, and Pete saying Dabo came off because he had his worst game tonight. The wing back situation is something I want to actually discuss, because I don't think we've showed how well we can play with wing backs at really any point this season. I don't think Sam McCallum's had a good season, in fairness. No. Dabo is, he's been riddled with injury for most part of that. Is that something you want to see rein back in, or do you want to continue with the wing backs?
I think continue with the wing backs, but I agree that the two we've got are just aren't hitting the levels. I think McCallum's a really strange one. I don't know if the move to Norwich is just, it's got to his head, and he's just, I don't know. It's a weird situation for him, because he's not good enough to play for Norwich.
Yeah.
And then he's back at us, and even at us he's struggling a bit down the bottom of the table. So his is a strange one. And then I agree with the Dabo situation. He just isn't really himself. Like, he used to bomb on, didn't he? And get space, because he gets a lot of space on the right. Like, he's in good positions, but then he doesn't deliver early or goes to the byline. He kind of does something in between. He's
severely lacking in confidence, isn't he? You can see that. Yeah.
It's like there was a few. I think there was a couple against Derby where we could have sealed the win, and I don't know. He just didn't seem to have the confidence to take his man on. When last season he was doing it just constantly all throughout the game, wasn't he? Constantly skinning this man, getting to the byline, just being involved. He just doesn't seem to quite be doing that. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a confidence thing. Maybe it's just the level he's playing at. I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it.
Yeah, and he's kind of stopped taking on defenders.
Yeah,
and I think he showed a couple of glimpses tonight where he was attempting to take on a defender, and then when it didn't come off for him, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that again." It's like he's afraid to make that mistake again.
Yeah,
I think the injuries haven't helped him. He hasn't got a prolonged run in the team at any point this year, and I think he's probably one of those guys who will benefit from a proper pre-season, get back to full fitness, and we might see the fantasy Dabo we know and love next season.
I mean, even last season, he did have a slow start, didn't he? Obviously, he made a couple of clangers early on, which knocked his confidence a bit, and we were all a bit like, "Who's this Dabo bloke that we've signed?" kind of thing. And then, like you say, once he had a run of games, then he became like our best player, really, didn't he? Yeah. So maybe that, and we've only had him for 1 year. We don't really know what he's like with getting back from injuries and things. So maybe, like you say, he's one of those players who just needs a really long run in the team, and maybe he'll be better next season. But yeah, it is worrying on the wing backs, because like last season we created a lot from those positions, didn't we? And it hasn't been the same this year.
I know it's kind of early and we're still in this season, but a couple of people have asked us about what needs to change squad-wise, and Glenn saying, not to sound too pessimistic, but who would you be looking to sort of offload in the summer? Is there anyone that sort of sticks in your mind that I suppose it's difficult to say, because we don't know what league we're going to be in for a start.
Yeah. I mean, assuming we're still in the Championship, I think it's hard. The other thing as well, it's hard to talk about like offloading, because I think it's going to really be a case of what positions do we need to sign players in, and then players will move to be backups, if you know what I mean. Like players like Fads, for example, I think we need another centre half, definitely. But then I don't know if we'd offload Fads. He's probably going to be like a decent sort of backup, I would have thought. Positions like that. Wing backs, obviously on the left, we're going to need someone, aren't we? Because McCallum presumably will go back.
Yeah.
So that's position.
We've obviously got the lad from Ross County who's come in. So with that, he's going to be potentially first choice.
Yeah.
But he'll need competition. That's one thing Sam McCallum hasn't got this year, is any competition for that left back spot. So he can put in average upon average, each week an average performance in, and he knows he's not going to get dropped because he's the only one who plays that position. Yeah, I agree.
Goalkeeper position's an interesting one as well. That's one that we're not quite sure about. So there's a few question marks, isn't there? Really?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we need a new spine. There needs to be a new spine in the team.
It depends what business we do as well with, because obviously there's players like Ostergaard that I think he's out of contract at Brighton, isn't he? So he's one I'm sure they're working behind the scenes. I'd definitely be looking to sign up. Matthew James, I think would be a really wise signing. I know he's not the youngest player, but I still think he's probably worth it for like to get 2 or 3 years out of him. He'd probably take a little bit of a wage cut at this stage just to play regular Championship football, and he's close to his family in the Midlands as well. So hopefully we can get a player like him. That'd be great. And then the midfield isn't too bad. I don't know about Hamer, if he's going to stay or be moved on. We don't really know. Could be a blessing in disguise if he doesn't have the best end to the season. Weirdly, do you know what I mean?
And get a full season of him next year. Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
I mean, if he might not look as attractive to buy, and if we've set a minimum marker point of how much we want for him, people, especially in the current climate, people aren't going to be spending £10 million on a player that hasn't been solid all season. So you never know, that might work to our advantage. But yeah, lot of question marks. It's going to be a really tough summer of recruitment, to be honest.
Yeah, really I think this will be the hardest summer to recruit players. Yeah. Not only there's a severe lack of funds. Anyway, but we look overseas quite a lot for players over the last couple of years, and we're not going to be able to do that. The sort of the work permit situation with Brexit is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, hopefully we're not going to. Some will get resolved with that.
Yeah, we're not going to be high on the list to get that resolved, to be honest, for clubs in the Championship. But, they're going to work on Premier League way before they'll even look at the Championship. So that's going to be an absolute nightmare. So you might see a lot of teams swap and change players in the Championship next summer. So
it's going to be tough, because I think the next stage of our development is hard, because like we've said, this season was about just staying up, and we could do that with pretty much like a developing League One team with a few additions, but to go out and sort of strengthen and become an established Championship team, that's the hard bit, I think, and you're going to need a bit of money to do that. I mean, even the Lutons and the Barnsleys have spent decent money, haven't they, to establish themselves. They've got great players coming through their academies as well, so we are going to have to spend a bit of money. I think obviously going back to the Rico should help a little bit. Selling out the executive boxes, that's a few quid to spend on someone maybe. But that hopefully will help. But yeah, it's going to be a big summer.
Yeah, and in answer to your question, Glenn, from my point of view, 2 keepers, 2 defenders, a winger, and attacking midfielder is literally, I feel, the minimum that we need to get. There needs to be new faces. It needs to be freshened up for sure. Competition for places is absolutely vital. So hopefully we see that. But, to another point of what you're saying about academy players, I think Jordan Thompson at centre half is going to be a superb player. I've got really, really high hopes for him. Jody Jones is potentially coming back as well. Will we see a prolonged period of play from Jody Jones? That's exciting to me if we can get him back fit. Obviously, the injury issues is a cloud hanging over him, but hopefully he's past that now. And Wilbur Parga, another year of his development as well, and he looks an exciting prospect. So we do have these sort of on the echelons of the squad that can come in and potentially fight for places. So
it's tough with the academy, isn't it? The academy lads, because obviously when we were in League 2 and League 1, they get their chance a bit more. I mean, even talking of Luton, I remember Shipley came on against Luton and we'd never even heard of him, and he scored that free kick, and then that was it. Then he played basically every game till we were in the Championship. So, but they don't get a chance as much, do they? Because the levels are so much higher.
Yeah.
It's hard to make your mark. So, I think we haven't really had as many academy players coming through like we normally do. Because we normally have at least one or two a year, don't we?
Definitely, yeah. A lot of fans are getting involved with that question that Glenn posed on, and who we would like wouldn't like to see the back of, but who should we look to offload in the summer. Nick Kaplan, we definitely need a new goalkeeper. Wilson Morosi, too prone to mistakes and not champ standard. Danny White, Wilson, Shipley, Jabello and Fads to go. Ben is saying Bakayoko, Biamu, either Haim or Fads, Shipley, Wilson for a start off. Gee, be a high turnover. Danny saying Pass will go, and hopefully we don't have to go and sign Sheaf. Yeah, Sheaf's an odd one.
We probably do have to sign Sheaf, I think.
Yeah, I think the situation with that is weird.
I think it's something like 20 appearances, and if we stay up or something was the deal. I think something like that. The number might be wrong, but it's something like appearances plus if we stay up, we have to sign him. So, but yeah, I agree with some of those names that are popping up. Like
Maddie's a wing back as well for.
Players like Bakayoko. Yeah, it's probably time for him to move on. Shipley, I think, as well. To be honest, there's a lot of players who.
What about Hills now? The forgotten man on loan at Oldham at the moment. He's doing pretty well from what we hear, but obviously a forgotten man. And we don't know what this guy can do, especially at a higher level. So, again, another potential. Yeah,
another question mark, really. I haven't really looked recently how he was doing. I know his first two games at Oldham, everyone was retweeting every single tweet that had his name in it.
Scored a penalty.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's another one, isn't he? Another interesting one. I mean, if you had him and Jody Jones fully fit and doing well, interesting. Jabello's another one that I think has got massive potential. But it just seems like he can't get himself fit, And
the main man, Jermaine Castaneer, will be back amongst the Sky Blues squad.
It's unfortunate because we have got players who just can't get themselves fit, and you can't keep players like that at the club, can you? Really, that's the sad thing, really.
I mean all that chat's for another day. But for the meantime, we've got 10 more games left in this championship season, and they don't get much bigger than Wycombe on Saturday. How do you see that one playing out, Tom?
I think we'll be all right. I think we'll get a good result. I mean, the one thing about this team is that we always bounce back, to be honest with you. I mean, how many times have we sat here in a midweek and been a bit gutted, and then Saturday we've gone out and beaten Brentford or beaten Derby or beaten whoever? So I know, I don't ever worry when we lose in the week, because I know we can bounce back at the weekend, luckily. We're not, as we said, we're not a Rotherham or a team like that go and lose 6 games in a row. So I think we can get a good result on Saturday. We're at home, St Andrews. So we've got a good record against Wycombe. So yeah, I'm feeling relatively positive. And we've got a fully fit squad to pick from. So yeah, fingers crossed.
It's important to get this one out the system as quickly as we can. And obviously we've got an opportunity to do that against Wycombe on Saturday. Tom, thank you very much for joining me this evening on SkyBluesExtra Live. Viewers, there's a couple of new special edition podcasts we just released last weekend, including one with John Solarco, a firm fan favourite in the 90s, and a really good insight into his career in Coventry and afterwards, and some really important talking issues on there. So I urge you to go and listen to that. We'll be back on Saturday for SkyBluesExtra Live again after Wycombe. Me and Russell will return, hopefully the winning combination on Saturday, and hopefully celebrating another Sky Blues victory to pull us away from this very scary now relegation fight at the foot of the championship table. Really appreciate you joining us this evening. All that's left to say is stay safe out there and play up Sky Blues.